So the other day, we were catching up with some friends who are also building back in Zimbabwe. And you know how it goes. Once you're building, the conversations always circle back to construction costs and the mistakes no one warns you about. So as we were talking, one thing really stuck out more during the chat. They were talking about how now that their house is complete, there are entire rooms and spaces they just don't use and didn't need to begin with. And not just that, but even rooms that they do use, they just feel like they're just way too big. And it hit me because that's such a common mistake and one that's so easy to make when you're designing your dream home on paper. So now, when the structure was in place and complete, and they're now living in the house, they started to realize just how unnecessarily big they made the rooms. And when they were designing their house, obviously, maybe if it's your first time, it's not always that you try to find out how big a certain room is, because I know when we started designing our house, we only told the architect the rooms that we wanted in the house. And he had to make sure all those things are in there. And yeah, we just left him to figure everything out. But that's something that we actually had to fix later. Because when you're drawing it out on paper, it's easy to get carried away. You think, let's make the living room huge. Let's go big on the master bedroom. But later, they were like, wait, why is this room massive again? And the thing is, once it's built, it's built. This room now needs a window, a door, tiles, furniture, and every extra square meter translates to an extra cost. Not just the materials, but the furnishing, cleaning, maintaining. Yeah. And during that conversation, we were actually reminded of my husband's childhood home. His bedroom almost covered the floor it was on, like he literally had a whole penthouse to himself. And at that time, it sounded cool, but looking back, it was just unnecessary space that could have been used more wisely, because you walk in and it's like, why do I even need all this space? And it wasn't their fault. It was all because they trusted the architect. They trusted him to draw the plan that made sense in scale, and also just positioning of certain rooms, and also getting rid of dead spaces. So it's really important to take charge of your design and not leave all the deciding power to the architect. Although obviously with technical stuff we can't argue with them, they will know best. But it's also important to just go through a plan, go through the measurements, just for purposes of double checking and making sure that this is a space that you would be happy with when it's completed. So for our build, we really wanted to be intentional, not just looking at the room sizes on paper, but trying to feel the scale. We looked at what a 20 square meter room actually would look like in real life, or whether we needed a guest bedroom that is like super big, or if a certain space would be functional or just extra. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about building a big house, it's about building a usable home. So one of the decisions we made during the design process was to make our master bedroom a bit smaller, but not tiny, but just the right size. We really wanted it to feel cozy. You know, that feeling of being hugged when you're walking into a room. That's what we're going for. Not so small that you feel cramped, but not so big that it loses that intimate, restful vibe. We still made sure that it has everything we need. A comfortable bed with bedside tables, a sitting area, and even a fireplace where we can relax. But by slightly reducing the bedroom size, we're able to create more space for the parts that really matter to us. That was the master bathroom, and the walk-in closet, which allowed us to have enough space for a very long his and hers vanity, enough space for a tub, a big shower, which was a non-negotiable, a water closet, and still plenty of room to move around, and a good sized closet. So now when we walk into our bedroom, it's a peaceful, self-contained space. It's not filled with clutter or extra furniture. It's just a calming room to rest. And that was important to us. And please do take note. I said to us. So this is all about preference. I understand that everybody's different. So if you are in the design phase right now, take your time to really imagine yourself living in this space. Not just aesthetics, but the practicality. Walk around similar sized rooms if you can. Measure out the square meters in your current place and ask, will this room serve us or just drain us? Because trust me, once it's up, you can't go back, and nobody wants to spend money on windows and doors and furniture for something that they're not really happy about. Another major thing that often gets forgotten in the planning stage is socket placement. Listen, you can never have too many sockets, but what you don't want is random sockets halfway up a wall or visible extension cords running everywhere because you didn't think ahead. In our case, we're able to plan them early. For example, for the living room, because our couch layout is literally in the middle of the room, it meant that we needed floor sockets so that we're not stretching cables across the room, for example, for charging phones or plugging in lamps, but also making sure that they are also child safe. We made sure that they're tucked away under the carpet, but also right at the edge of the carpet for them to be still accessible, and also some underneath the couches. And also, because our bathrooms have smart toilets, we also made sure to have sockets next to the toilet. Definitely not something you want to forget. We also included shaver sockets. So for us, we also made it in a way that for our master bathroom, we have drawers that have built-in sockets and built-in compartments for dryers, straighteners, and all the hair accessories, so that everything is tucked away in its rightful place. And we also have other areas which could be like curtains. If you're going for a smart home, you would need to have sockets right where your curtains are so that you don't have trailing cables. Other areas where people often forget to add sockets are entry hallways for lamps, or maybe behind mounted screens so that your cables don't hang everywhere. And yeah, so many other places. So if you are in the design stage, please take the time to think about room sizing. Bigger isn't always better. Design for how you live, not just what looks nice on a blueprint. Ask yourself, is this space going to be useful? Can I furnish this without needing a professional? Will this make cleaning or maintaining harder or easier? Let me know in the comments section, guys. Have you experienced this, or have you seen it at maybe someone else's house? What design decisions are you most proud of, or maybe slightly regretting? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with anyone building or dreaming of building their home. And I'll see you in the next video.